Ebbie Smith, who lives in Fort Worth, served for 15 years as a missionary in Indonesia, spending many of those years teaching at the East Java Bible School. Is that right?
Well, Baptist Seminary too.
Baptist Seminary, okay. Beginning in 1974, he taught for 24 years at Southwestern Seminary, and if you want, you can tell him how you left. Let's just say he followed the Maston example with courage and integrity, and that didn't get you long at Southwestern in the late 90s. But anyway, Eddie, go right.
Thank you. In January of 1961, to the surprise of many, including myself, Southwestern Seminary bestowed a Doctor of Theology on me. 2 months later, my wife and 3 children and myself left and went halfway around the world to Indonesia, where I eventually became a professor at the Seminari Baptis di Indonesia. Later, the East Java Bible School was mine. I got to Indonesia with my family. We moved into the 3rd house in the first 2 months, but we were supposed to stay for 10 months at this house. And I sat down at night and began to write a list of what I wanted to accomplish. I want to learn this new language. I want to learn to live in this new culture. I want to eat this new kind of food. But I got through all of that. By the way, I want to learn to drive on the wrong side of the road. But I got through with all that, and I came to the one big thing I hoped for. I hope to be to the students at the Indonesian Seminari what T.B. Maston and Mommy were to the students at Southwestern. I don't have to tell you I didn't accomplish that. I tried. When the Lord led us back to Southwestern in 1974, I made that same statement to myself. I want to be here what Dr. Maston was. And I don't have to tell you I didn't do that. I may be coming a little closer, though I'm not there, at the place I'm teaching now. At Tarrant County College, I'm finding a place where I can reach some people that need awfully badly to be reached. But I quit beating myself up about not being what T.B. Maston was when I finally realized there never was but one of those. And there's probably not going to be another. So we do the best we can. How did he influence me? That statement he kept making over and over again, life is too short to do anything less than the will of God. I was at our little church not too far from here. We were having a revival. One night there were 5 adult lost men in the congregation. And I prayed to myself before we started the invitation, Lord, let some of our members make a decision for something, I don't care what it is, and maybe that'll help these lost men do something. We started the invitation and my wife came down the aisle. She had one little boy under the arm and another by the hand and another in her tummy. And I said to myself, good old Donna, she's going to rededicate her life and that's going to help these lost men do something. And she came down and said to me, God is calling me to missions. The first thing I thought of was, God, this is a dirty trick. But now we had to think about missions. And that's where we ended up. We were ready to go. But we had those little boys, and we didn't much want to take them. There's germs out there. One day my wife was at home by herself. The little boys, when she was out back hanging out diapers, for you young people, we used to watch those things. The 2 boys got playing with the 7-Up bottle, broke it, and when she got back, the crawler was bleeding from his mouth, and some of the glass was gone, and she assumed he had swallowed it and couldn't get hold of anybody to help her, and sat down and began to pray. And she said it just seemed like God spoke to her and said, you see, you can be all by yourself with your children here, but wherever you take them, they'll be okay with me. She shared that with me, and we came back to that statement. Life is too short to do anything less than the will of God. The other great influence that Dr. Maston gave me was in the concept of servanthood. By word and by deed, Dr. Maston showed what it meant to die to self and live for Christ. My close friend Earl Martin captured this in the beautiful book on Dr. Maston, Passport to Servanthood, that I hope you've seen. Another thing, I can tell you a lot of things I've tried and not done, but another thing, I've always reached for that idea of being the servant. I've never fully got there. And then I remember the other thing Dr. Maston said so often. It's not always reaching the goal, but always having the goal for which you're reaching. That matter of tension that has been mentioned before. I think Dr. Maston epitomized for many of us what we would like to be, but are probably never going to be, or almost certainly are never going to be. He taught us the will of God, servanthood, taking the stand, and he mentioned a moment ago some of the stands that had to be taken. I did write a chapter, and it's now published, entitled What to Do When the Pastor Gets Pregnant, that sort of gave my position on women in ministry away. And perhaps led to the decision that it was time for me to retire. Some years ago, I was asked to, by the way, before I finish, I'm so happy so many have mentioned Tom Mack. I think that Tom Mack had more influence than most of us realize. And I have just dedicated the book to the 4 people in the family of Maston: Dr. Maston, Mommy, Eugene, who I think contributed much, and to Tom Mack, who in his own way contributed to Christian ethics and Christianity. Some years ago I was asked to name who I thought was the 3 greatest men that ever lived. I answered it one way then, and I would answer it the same way tonight. I think the 3 greatest men that ever lived: Jesus Christ, my daddy, and T.B. Maston.
Let's thank all these gentlemen one more time.